I know both of these trainers want it so bad. They're looking at each other's teams, deciding which Pokemon they want to bring. What do we think about these teams, Caleb?
Yeah, we got the double flyer on the right-hand side, and we have the double ground on the left-hand side on LWJosh's team. I think that Clodsire is going to see a lot of play. Even the head-to-head matchup against the other ground type Unova Stunfisk, the Clodsire, just the Earthquake to do so much more damage. Here we go, game number 1. It's going to be a Azumarill into Galarian Corsa. Pretty neutral matchup here, but overall, the bulk of Galarian Corsa usually overtakes precedence.
Yeah, it is pretty neutral. Both Pokemon are very bulky. Corsola will win this matchup in the zeros if they just play it out straight. We'll see both trainers are over farming a lot of energy. Neither one of them wants to be caught dry if they choose to swap out, something like that. So they always want to over farm and keep extra energy and not just throw right away. He goes to the back-to-back Nightshade before throwing his first Nightshade here. This will not threaten the Azumarill. Azumarill is a very bulky Pokemon. So he's going to go ahead and fire that off and probably look to keep over farming here.
Yeah, and I think LWJosh is ready for that Murkrow, bringing 3 really strong answers. His 3 strongest answer actually into the Murkrow. It's going to be the Zuma, which beats it, but then also you have the Clodsire, which beats it, and the Cordillera all on even shields that beats it. And here comes that Murkrow. In comes the Clodsire after farming a little bit extra energy here. Now the energy lead on Murkrow is going to be handy, but Clodsire is one of the Pokemon that can tank these Drill Pecks no problem.
Yeah, this is a lot of energy on this Murkrow though. Will he be able to pace to 3 Drill Pecks before Clodsire reaches the Stone Edge? No. So it looks like he will get to the Stone Edge very quickly. He's at the Stone Edge now, he's going to go and throw it immediately. Pranav, however, over farming, trying to get to most likely back-to-back Drill Peck before he fires off. You always want to keep energy, especially on a Pokemon that does this much damage. He's over farming to 100 energy. He's loaded on this Murkrow. This Drill Peck is going to do a lot of damage. It won't quite KO the Clodsire, but it will come very close. Josh is going to go ahead and protect up this Clodsire to make sure that he gets this Stone Edge off into this Murkrow. Pranav uses his second shield in this match. Now he has no shields remaining.
This is pretty big for LWJosh as well, because I thought Pranav was going to throw the next Drill Peck on Charge Attack priority against the Stone Edge, but not going to be the case, allowing LWJosh to actually swap over to this Cordillera. And even though all 3 Pokemon have positive matchup with shields up against the Murkrow, because it had such an energy lead, it's able to dance around these matchups so well, and I love what Pranav's doing right now, saving the Drill Peck for later, knowing he wins Charge Attack priority against all the Pokemon on the side of LWJosh, and we saw him play this strategy so many times in this losers bracket and throughout the tournament here, and just whittling down the health bars of everything progressively. Even though Murkrow doesn't have winning matchups, it has a way to win them.
Yeah, the other great thing about Murkrow here that makes it such a good pick for Pranav is that LWJosh doesn't have any fast move pressure into it. He doesn't have a Charmer. He's got no super effective fast move pressure into that Murkrow, so Murkrow's so safe, and it can just choose shield, keep health on it, and swap out with energy just like Pranav is doing. LWJosh actually pivots back to the Clodsire, trying to get a farm down here, or eat some energy. Alright, Pranav is forced to throw this Grass Knot, otherwise the Clodsire will reach that Stone Edge. LWJosh does choose to shield this Grass Knot up. Pranav can potentially combo play with the Drill Peck. He does have it loaded. He doesn't. He should just continue. And he combo plays with the Corsola that still has that Nightshade banked.
So much energy on all the Pokemon for Pranav. Really great play there too. Maybe, you know, if he swapped in on the middle of a Stone Edge. Wait, hold on. The Clodsire hangs on to get the Stone Edge off. That's pretty huge for LWJosh, but I don't know if it's going to matter because there's not a move on the Azumarill. And on top of it, there's still Murkrow with a move. Trying to go for a slight undercharge there, but not going to be enough here. Murkrow going to pace super fast here. How does LWJosh play around this? The Drill Peck will put the Azumarill dangerously low, almost in KO range. Actually, it is in KO range. Could not get the catch. Had to go for maybe a pause there to pull it off, but not able to do it as Pranav and this Murkrow is continuing their wins here in this losers bracket. 1-0 so far.
That Murkrow put in so much work in that game. It took out almost all of the Pokemon on the other side. Yep. They got Drill Pecks on every single Pokemon there, and Pranav used it so well. He always had energy on Murkrow. He said, I have a plan. I'm going to 2-shield my Murkrow, and I'm just going to always overfarm, always have energy, and keep energy when I swap out. That way I can know that I can win that Charge Attack priority when I come back in.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, LWJosh played well, but just gave a little bit too much leeway into that Murkrow. And like you said, no fast attack pressure. There's 3 Pokemon on LWJosh's side that do resistant damage with fast attacks. The other 3 just don't do enough damage. And so he has to throw these charge attacks. But if Pranav keeps spending all the shields on the Murkrow, spending both there too, he's in such a good position. Wasn't able to even debuff the Murkrow with the Credilli, which have made things a little bit easier for him, but not quite. And again, that's his 3 best Pokemon into Murkrow, and Pranav made that look easy.
Yeah, the pacing on Murkrow is just so fast to those Drill Pecks. It's just 5 Pecks to a Drill Peck, whereas LWJosh is bringing Pokemon like Azumarill, that's 15 turns to its first move, right? To throw an Ice Beam. Clodsire, again, 14 turns, right? 7 Poison Stings to get to that Stone Edge. So it's just a crazy dismemberment of the pacing there, right?
Yes, yeah, there's really nothing on the side of LWJosh's side that paces as fast, and on top of it, you're losing charge attack priority with everything on your team into the Murkrow. I don't know how many Murkrow that LWJosh faced previously in this tournament, but Pranav is definitely the best Murkrow player here in Milwaukee, and he's trying to make that statement known. Game number 2 underway. It's going to be the Galarian Moltres into Corsa, a fantastic lead for LWJosh.
How will Pranav answer this? He'll probably pivot out. He safe swaps that Murkrow. Again, Murkrow is so safe. Are those Sucker Punches even resisted on that Murkrow, though? Oh. Those Sucker Punches were chunking.
And it looked like LWJosh, like, he might have even, I'm not sure if he paused there or what, but he got a full bubble through against Pranav's Murkrow, which is going to put him in a good position. But, again, there's so much energy on this Murkrow, it's going to make this Azumarill matchup pretty uncomfortable, too.
Yeah, and again, we see Pranav over-farming, not throwing a move here. He just wants to bank as much energy as he can before shielding up this move. And he'll probably look to just do one more peck and throw that move. This won't quite KO this Azumarill. He will have to throw another move into it to KO it, but he can continue to over-farm because of Azumarill's slow pacing. It's still another 3 bubbles away from that Ice Beam, so he can go ahead and throw another Drill Peck now. Now, LWJosh has a decision to make. Does he want to get this energy off? He does not. He just lets it go. That's a lot of energy to lose on that Azumarill. Now, how do you get rid of this Murkrow? Do you come back in with Moltres, farm it down? Come back in Credilli. He does choose to come in and Acid the Murkrow down, but he will have to take a Drill Peck or Shield to not take this damage. He just lets it go. He
lets it go, indeed. In case if it's a stuff in the back, he pretty much loses. So he's banking on the fact that it's not going to be the case. And in comes that Galarian Corsa. Goes for the Rock Gym for the debuff. May swap back over to the Moltres now. With the shield advantage, this Moltres is in a pretty good position against the Credilli. Let's not forget, the Moltres has, I think, at least 6 or 7 Sucker Punch worth of energy as well. Maybe LWJosh going to take the move here. Tries to catch a Nightshade, not going to be the case. And now comes the Credilli, but you're coming into a Moltres loaded with energy.
Yeah, Moltres is already at the back-to-back fly before Pranav can even get to a single Rock Tomb. So he cannot shield this move, he just has to take it. This is going to do a lot of neutral damage here. Pranav's 1 away from the Rock Tomb, still not there. LWJosh fires off that next
the fly. He's coming through.
Yeah,
yes,
the next fly immediately there and pulls that last shield from Pranav. So now shields are down, and LWJosh still has 2 shields. He's going to expend 1 here.
Yeah, he has 1 for the Power Gem for later, and I believe he's going to get to his next fly before the Rock Tomb is reached. With the Sucker Punch damage added up, it's going to be enough here. It's going to be Charge Attack priority, but the Moltres gets it off here first. That's huge for LWJosh. Can he get the Sucker Punch down before you get to maybe double Nightshade? Nightshade should be enough to KO from this range. You can also clear the debuff, but I think that's actually maybe even worse. Oh, it catches the Nightshade on the Credilli.
Yep, keep in mind that Credilli was still back there. Pranav's going to undercharge this, try to get a farm down. How much energy does this Credilli have, and can it get to a move? It's 1 away from a move. It will land this Rock Tomb. Interesting that he'll go for the Rock Tomb here instead of going for the Grass Knot, which would hit just a little bit harder.
Yep.
I don't think you need to debuff this Corsola because you still have a shield, so you're not going to end up taking a move on your Moltres there.
Yeah, either way, Pranav's not going to be able to reach double moves here, and you can see the Sucker Punch down is going to even up this series 1-1. LWJosh finding a way around that pesky bird that is Murkrow.
Well played. Yeah, he used a shield advantage to his advantage through the entire game, trying to just leverage the fact that he still had a shield advantage over Pranav. And honestly, bringing the Moltres was a really good adjustment from him, because that Moltres had a lot of play into Pranav's team, especially when he led it into a Galarian Corsola.
Yes. Yeah, really well played, and giving him switch advantage, banking on the fact that there's no Unova Sunfisk in the back. If there was, that's pretty much GG's. The moment he lost switch advantage, the moment that he took all that damage on his Credilli as well, and I think he was just banking on the fact that there was no Unova Sunfisk, because if there was, he's like, you know what, there's not much I could do in this situation, and he is able to find a way around it. But it really could have been a Unova Sunfisk, because the Murkrow's a strong answer, and then there's another strong answer, and for the most part, that's pretty much just Credilli or Unova Sunfisk, but Credilli's not as clear of an answer as you can see from this game.
Yeah, Sunfisk is a little riskier to bring here. It does have some targets, but that Mud Slapper on LWJosh's side is really scary in case it gets aligned there. Also, it doesn't want to be lined up on that Credilli, and I think LWJosh is probably bringing that Credilli every game because it's got a lot of neutral play across the board. So Pranav might think to counter that Credilli in some way. He does have a Fortress that could put a lot of work into it, but again, it could be alignment dependent, just depending on what Josh brings. But he was favoring the Credilli and the Azumarill, both of which are weak to that Fortress.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, we're going to have to see how LWJosh plays around this. The Murkrow is very, very strong, but I think he makes some good line calls, some good no shields. He could position himself quite well. It is hard for Pranav to bring that Unova Sunfisk, and if you don't bring it, that Moltres has a lot of play into your team. Positive matchup against the Corsola, the Corviknight, you could dish out a lot of damage into the Credilli and the Fortress. The Murkrow has a shield as well. Yes, Murkrow outpaces, but if he chooses not to shield again and grabs the shield off your Murkrow, you're already down one of your shields for Murkrow. You only have one left. There's so much bulk on the side of LWJosh. Here we go, game number 3. It's going to be a Credilli mirror matchup. I believe this is the first time these two trainers are facing off in this tournament, so I don't think we know who's going to win Charge Attack priority yet. But it looks like both are reaching for the Rock Tomb, and LWJosh is going to have that Charge Attack priority, which is huge, because now debuffing the Credilli means that he's going to win this head-to-head.
Yeah, usually when you lose the Charge Attack priority here, you will look to bank some energy, potentially pivot out to avoid that cap tie later on. Or you could stay in and play out the matchup, but you will lose it neutrally since you were debuffed first. Yeah,
this is really tough, though, for Pranav, because you don't really want to catch this on a Fortress, right? It's going to do some neutral damage, but then you just give up switch advantage. You definitely can't catch it on the Murkrow. And LWJosh was maybe a little bit confused here, thinking that he was going to go for a cancel, chooses not to throw the move, but instead, Pranav just throwing it right away, and now all of a sudden he's in a pretty good position. But going for the Grass Knot, I don't think this Grass Knot's enough. This is a double debuff Grass Knot.
Yeah, I think the Credilli will just barely live this and be able to get off another move. If he chooses to stay in, he could potentially pivot out, but no, just goes for it. Pranav's just going to let this Credilli go, potentially look to farm down. I wonder if he's going to come in with the Murkrow or the Fortress.
I feel like it's got to be the Murkrow, right? In comes the Murkrow,
likely, yeah.
But now comes the Azumarill. Azumarill will be hard countered, though. This Murkrow is so devastating for that backline, but the real question is, does Pranav know or not? Oh, and he saves the energy, and now comes the Fortress. This is going to be absolutely brutal for LWJosh, but the timers are misaligned, and the Fortress is not going to take out the Azumarill very quickly, and because of that, he could bank energy and dip out and bring in the Marowak, and that could spell trouble for Pranav, because if you start getting towards that rock slide, it's going to be really annoying for the Murkrow to call those baits.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the shields are used here. I think LWJosh is just hoping that he can make something happen here, but this is looking a little dire for him. All of Azumarill's attacks here are resisted, so he's just going to continue throwing the stab play rough. Rather than Ice Beam, this is the correct move to throw. But again, it's just going to barely chip this Fortress, especially since he's already been debuffed.
And going to try to maybe bank the Ice Beam. He does, but in comes the Murkrow. He waited too long, and now the Murkrow is back in, having a fantastic matchup into this Marowak. I mean, if you let this go, this is tough. If you shield it, it's also tough because you're throwing resistant Mud Slap damage here, and you have to land the Rock Slide to do any meaningful damage. Although the Murkrow is quite low, so maybe you could go straight for the Bone Club, but the Drill Peck is reached. There's another one as well. If you go for proper timing, you're going to get hit by a Drill Peck for sure. Does LWJosh just full send it here? And no, he doesn't go for a Mud Slap, and now comes a third Drill Peck.
This is going to do massive damage. This Murkrow just got so far ahead on energy and then pivoted out and saved it all. And Pranav still has 2 shields as well. He's actually going to call this Bone Club. He said, you're not going to throw the rock slide, and that does nothing.
And here comes another Bone Club, though. Now he might shield. No, he chooses not to. Going to try to bug bite everything down. Murkrow is pretty frail, though, but it could hang on to the Bone Club, the first one. Maybe not the second one. In comes the Fortress and couldn't get the Mud Slap damage through. That's huge for Pranav here. He has a lot of energy, and the bubbles don't do enough. The acid does even less here. Maybe you go for a catch, but no. Pranav not going to let that happen. Throwing the Rock Tomb in between the bubbles to prevent that. And Pranav's going to go up 2-1 in this series.
Yeah, what a fantastic call by Pranav to bring that Fortress, knowing that LWJosh was using that Azumarill and that Cradily, and they were both so weak to Fortress.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I mean, it's tough, right? Because there's two shields. If LWJosh did land a Rock Slide on that Murkrow, he could have gotten maybe one, maybe two Mud Slaps onto the Fortress and maybe had a chance, but the Fortress just had a good chunk of health left. It was so close to a move as well. Maybe if you catch a move on the Cradily on top of it, then you can bubble down. But it was a tough position, and really that game was just very kind of little respect for the Murkrow, right? The backline was pretty weak to it. I mean, we're talking about Azumarill here in the backline, and the Murkrow feels more favored in some ways in those situations, especially with how well Pranav's playing with that Murkrow, getting energy lead whenever he can. You know, like you said, he's like, I wonder if he's going to farm down with the Murkrow or Fortress, but you know, if he can farm down anything, it's going to be with that Murkrow.
Yeah, he definitely wants to get the energy lead on that Murkrow, and also LWJosh didn't even want to give him the farm down, so ended up pivoting out, which allowed Pranav to just bank up a bunch of energy, swap out, and then eat all of the Azumarill energy onto that Fortress, which was all resisted. It was just perfectly played by Pranav. The fact that Josh just didn't want to give him that energy lead.
Yeah, and I think that's the tough thing, right, for Josh, because he doesn't want to give the Murkrow energy lead because he knows how bad it is, but because he did that, he took away his only answer to Murkrow and allowed his Marowak to be locked into it, and we saw how devastating a matchup that was. Two shielding the Marowak, and unfortunately still barely taking out the Murkrow.
Right. It's tough when your Pokemon just don't pace fast enough. You can't keep up with the pacing of the Murkrow, right? I think he might potentially look to drop that Azumarill. It doesn't feel like it's been doing that much work for him, ending up on that Fortress. All of that energy was just resisted, and it's so slow to pacing, even versus that Murkrow. We're locked in for our next match. We have Galarian Moltres into the Galarian Corsola.
I like this adjustment from LWJosh as well, too. In comes the Murkrow. You can throw potentially a Fly or just do the same swap strategy like before. He comes in the Cradily, and now Murkrow is loaded, has the back-to-back Drill Peck. Do you ever shield? He is going to shield the first one, but the second one is not too far behind.
Yeah, he knows he can tank one Drill Peck, but it's good to shield up one. He will pace very quickly. He probably throw it on Captide there. That way he guarantees this not debuff damage onto this Cradily. It's going to do a lot, but I don't think you can go down two shields here immediately, and Josh does not. He just lets it go. Fortunately, it was Captide on that Rock Tomb. He's actually going to look to undercharge this Rock Tomb, maybe trying to look to farm down the Murkrow, and he does get one Acid, so a little bit of energy coming out with that. He can debuff this Corsola, potentially, or he might choose to pivot out, bank that energy, but I think he might just stay in here because he really wants that alignment of the Moltres onto that Corsola, and he wouldn't want to find out what's in the back. It's potentially a hard answer to that Moltres.
Yeah, I like that Josh threw a little bit later there. Tries to get to the Rock Tomb, doesn't quite get there, but you have the Clodsire as a strong answer now. However, LWJosh, he's behind the shield, so it gets a little bit trickier. He's actually waiting out the timer. Now comes in the Moltres. Can you grab a shield? You do grab a shield. That's going to be pretty big for LWJosh because you have a lot of neutral play with the Clodsire into the Galarian Corsola as well, especially with the Galarian Corsola already taking some chip damage here. Does he try to swap here? It's a real question. Swaps over now. Doesn't catch anything, but either way, still leaving with some energy on the Moltres for later.
Yeah, desyncing the switch timers here is going to be tricky as it goes into the end game because this Clodsire is now going to get debuffed potentially multiple times here, and then Corsola can come back in and start throwing its energy because it did bank a Nightshade. I think it was a little over a Nightshade, in fact, so it can come in and kind of punish this Clodsire that'll now be debuffed.
This is a tough situation for LWJosh here. As you can see, the damage did register, if you see in the screen there too, and Nightshade is coming through. It is a debuffed Corsola, Clodsire. I wonder if 2 Nightshade will be enough is the real question, but the timers are not up for LWJosh yet. Just short here. Can he get the move off? Actually over farming is Pranav, not throwing the Nightshade and now going to tank up an Earthquake, maybe expecting the Moltres to come back in. And that's going to be exactly what happens here. Moltres comes in here, does have the Power Gem, and you see LWJosh trying to get Sucker Punch down, but not going to do it. There's so much energy banked on this Galarian Corsola, and the Moltres is able to at least farm this down, can't swap over right away. So you still have a slight chance here. No, but the Rock Tomb is there. Yeah,
he already has the Rock Tomb loaded on that Fortress, so I don't think that LWJosh is going to be able to take this one. But let's see. The Clodsire still has some health, so Pranav is going to over-farm here before he fires off this Rock Tomb. He's trying to over-farm as much as he can to try to get to this Sand Tomb to fire off at the Clodsire.
Yeah.
I don't remember how much energy the Clodsire swapped out with, but I don't think it had a move.
Not any.
It is dry.
And
so
here
that
comes the
Sand Tomb will be reached.
It's going to be Pranav taking this series 3-1 over LWJosh. A dominant performance here on the backs of that Murkrow and that Fortress core here, and he has a spot now in the grand finals against Meteor Fallion.
Huge congrats to Pranav, and very well played there. Very good adjustments by Pranav to bring that Fortress. It looked very, very strong into LWJosh's team. I think I really like that adjustment from him. And now he is into the grand finals, top 2. Amazing performance. I think that's his highest performance yet.